Joel Schoenfeld, among other things. Wingate High School, East Flatbush, class president, earned good grades, wanted to be a chemical engineer, changed careers in 1980 to become a photographer, promised one model he'd shoot photos of her, but after taking her out to dinner, he told her it was too late to shoot, invited her to spend the night on his couch. That night, he raped her. Court records also show 1988, fondling another model while he was supposed to be photographing her. He was killed on January 5th, 1991, at the age of 45. The man who killed him is our guest, John Valverde, whose trial is pending. The best work done on this bizarre story has been by the Village Voice and Lucette Lagando. What do you want to fill in for us, Lucette, about Joel or anything else?
Well, I've been in a strange position both before and since doing the article. I've received hundreds of calls from women, some of them anonymous, some of them not. And I've sort of almost come to feel like I'm a priest confessor, because so many of them have absolutely blood-curdling tales.
And do they cry as this first woman did?
Oh, many of them do. Many of them do. Sometimes, but other times they're very cold, but they sort of recount chilling tales. And this man, I haven't figured out, I'm not an analyst, I'm a journalist, what he was. Was he a psychopath? I don't know. I mean, he came from a very nice background, you know, Brooklyn. He lived in the butcher's co-op in Flatbush, and a yeshiva boy. He was brought up to be a good guy. And then somewhere along the line, he became a social worker. He went to Columbia University School of Social Work. He became a and he used that. He became a sex therapist. And then from here, somewhere along the line, he metamorphosed into this sort of fiendish guy.
And a lot of the young women who came to him would be hired to work in his apartment, cleaning it. So he had, not unlike the narcissistic hedonist, surrounded by the bevy, so-called, the traditional bevy of beauties, huh?
Absolutely, a harem, yeah, of sorts.
And these are very helpless young women, helpless in terms of they're certainly not empowered, who may not have been altogether familiar with. This is just the classic, this is every Iowa father's nightmare whose daughter says, "Daddy, I want to go to New York and be something."
A star, a model, yeah. And he used that. He was a smart guy. He was a psychologist.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Hi, Phil. I just wanted to say that I'm a little confused by this. I'm sorry for the events that took place with these girls, but I was photographed by Joel Schoenfeld for hours, and it doesn't paint the same picture that the man that I met. He was a mild-mannered man. He was nice. He was polite. He made no gestures to me of a sexual nature whatsoever.
And when did you see him?
You mean what year?
Yeah.
It was about 6 years ago or so.
And you were how old?
I was 21, 22.
Very good. We accept your commentary as reported with no ability at all to verify your statements. We have no reason to believe you're lying any more than we would the women who have testified to his very, very sleazy behavior. But we do, nevertheless, thank you for your call.
Thanks.
I'm glad you called. Hi.
Hello, John.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I support you 100%. I think if more people would kill the rapist, rape wouldn't happen as often. And I just think you did a great service.
Yeah. Thank you. I thank you for calling. Are you there? Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
You know.
I just wanted to say that...
You'd like to what?
I wanted to say that I was also a victim of assault, not by Joel, but I can understand what John did, because society has never taken rape and sexual assault as the serious crime that it is. It's an awful thing. It never goes away. I mean, and I think that if society would pursue it as the crime that it is, and if it were, you know, I mean, this man himself, Joel, was let out how many times, even though he had a record? And that is just evidence that society or the justice system just doesn't think that it's that big of a deal. And it is. It's a horrible, horrific thing.
From Miss Lagnato's piece for the Village Voice, headlined "The Svengali of Greenwich Village." There was a time, Lucette writes, several years ago when Schoenfeld actually enjoyed a fleeting legitimacy at the highest stratospheres of the modeling world as he, quote, tested girls for Ford, Wilhelmina, Elite, Zoli, and others. All the girls who went to him were beginners, recalls Joe Hunter, executive vice president of Ford. "I'm going to make you a star," he would tell them. "I test girls for Eileen Ford," he would say. And then we would get these calls from mothers asking about him. So the big shot agencies want you to know that when they got the word on this guy, they jettisoned him in a hurry. But he was nevertheless able to use this, no doubt, exaggerated connection with the agencies to legitimize his professional place before the women who he would later abuse. Well, this is something. Because now we are left with the legacy of his murder and what to do with young John Valverde. And we'll be back in just a moment.
We don't take kids in this building.
We don't allow pets, not even guide dogs.
Sorry, they just took that house off the market.
When you suspect housing discrimination, call this number. You can change illegal housing practices. You can see justice done. Fair housing is the law. You can fight housing discrimination and win. Fair housing opens doors. Call this number.
Hey, you!
It's Clarence the Crusher.
There's too much food in these Encore Salisbury steaks.
Tell him, Crusher.
How can I eat all these juicy, charbroiled steaks in rich, beefy gravy?
But Crusher, Encore is a 2-pound family-size entree.
I don't have a family.
I do. And we love Encore. We'll be over at 6 tonight.
Really? You will?
Now, about this Encore Veal Parmigiana.
5 tomorrow?
Oh.
For tasting more, it's Encore.
On the next Golden Girls, Rose's new boyfriend is hot to try.
Will you take it inside, Rose? This isn't the French Quarter.
But Rose is playing it cool.
Charlie was the only lover I ever had.
Get out of here.
Not all of us are classified by the Navy as a friendly port.
Temperatures are rising.
I wonder if she had a great time on that cruise.
She did if she fooled around.
And everyone's dying to know.
So, did you and Artie play Find the Cannoli?
On the next Golden Girls.
Today at 4 on The Source, TV 11.
This is when I love grape nut cereal. I've been out here all morning, and I'm still going. Does your cereal do this? Try breakfast with grape nuts for a week. I did, and I feel great. Grape nuts is this natural energy source, and it's fat-free. It tastes so good, too. It's hearty. It's got what you need to help keep you going. If you want to feel this good every morning, try grape nuts for a week yourself.
Breakfast with Post Grape Nuts helps keep you going strong all morning long.
How come you waited so long to do it? I mean, I think I'm totally for you, but why didn't you just go and kill the guy as soon as you found out it happened? Because it seems like it's so premeditated that it seems much guilty.
Attorney at law Mazes, who's representing John.
Your question is a good one. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until we get before a jury before we can answer that type of question. What we're trying to resolve here is all of the information that John knew at the time that this incident took place, and we're trying to assemble all the facts so that he will have a fair trial.
I had a young daughter who was trying to be a model and had a portfolio done, and she went to these different photographers, and her main concern, and she finally got out of the modeling field, was because of the being molested and the abuse she was taking from the photographers. So this is not an uncommon thing, and why should anyone think that these models are not human, that they don't have feelings and they don't like being molested just because they're being displayed normally on TV or in commercials?
Thank you for your point. Yes.
Was your girlfriend the first, were you the first to discover this? Who was the first to know about all this?
Lucette, you want to get in this? When did the reports begin, and why did it, do you know?
The reports
Yeah, the reports of this guy behaving this way, and why?
Oh, well, they were around. I mean, that's sort of the great question, right? They were around for several years. The cops knew, the DA knew, you know, the modeling community knew, and yet he still operated. He still had this thriving business. He was making over a couple of $100,000 a year in cash.
Yes.
Was he ever convicted of any of his crimes? I mean, did anyone ever prosecute him?
Well, the DA, yeah, I mean, he got, he didn't get convicted for rape. I mean, he was never put in jail, and the DA has never really agreed to go into detail about why basically they let him walk out the door and go back in business.
Yeah.
I think that's an outrageous thing.
Mary, did you think of blowing the whistle on him?
I wrote a letter to my agent after this incident, and I think that prompted the industry to kind of ban him from the advertising.
Right. We have not established that John went to the police. Is that so?
Well, John did go to the police. And this is part of the horror of this whole situation here.
I wonder if John could just briefly, I think if you have he gets a green light from his lawyer to tell us.
I have no problem with that at all.
John, what happened? Tell me about the police.
I chose first to go to the police to try and handle this as best I could and get advice from them on how to handle the situation. And I was informed of the horror stories and the type of person this man was.
But they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything. They said my girlfriend had to come forward.
And your girlfriend did not want to come forward?
No, she didn't want to come forward.
She didn't want the attention, the publicity, the tabloids, the pictures, the trial, etc.
It was a very painful time for her, and she didn't want that, no.
Does your relationship survive, John? Are you still...
Yes, it does.
That was my question. I was going to ask John if he went to seek other help.
He's still, yes, they're still a couple.
I was wondering if your girlfriend's still modeling?
No, she's not.
She is not modeling. May we have her age again at the time of this incident?
She was 17 years old when this happened.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Hi.
What do you think?
When I was 18, I had a girlfriend who told me an ex-boyfriend had raped her. I, too, considered taking the law into my own hands. I didn't. This girl and I broke up, and 1 year later, I was being threatened, accused of raping this same girl. What do you have to say about that?
Well, what we have to say is that it is possible to level a false charge of rape. If that's your point, we accept your point on the record. You must, however, know that there are significant numbers, as Lucette from the Village Voice will tell you, of women who have registered these complaints. So the evidence is, as we might say, a preponderance, more than proving this guy capable of this kind of behavior.
Yes, but we cannot take the law into our own hands.
We've already tried to set that Solomon-like question up for the audience, and I hope we don't end the program without saying that that John's attorney at law believes in the law as much as anybody else. Now the question becomes, what rules of law will obtain to young John Valverde as he sits in the dock before a jury of his peers? How many will sympathize with his execution-style killing of Joel Schoenfeld? And how many will think that our civilized society, a rule of law as we boast to be, should be the terms of deciding what happens to him? At the very least, an interesting question, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I think we want to love more than we want to be loved. You can't look for love. It finds you when you're ready. I am more open to love now that I'm older.
Only Nana makes love sound like this on Philips CDs and cassettes.
Come on and nutricize your body. Come on and nutricize your mind.
Want to change your old size for a Nutrisize? Call your Nutrisystem Center. We'll teach you how to develop a whole new relationship with food.
Nutricize your life.
Nutrisize now and lose all the weight you can for the price of a 10-pound program. Call 1-800-321-THIN.
Archery, baseball, curling, deer hunting, equestrian events, football, golf, hoops, ice fishing, jogging, karate, long jump, mud wrestling, 9-ball, off-road racing, packers, whale hunting, racquetball, soccer, tennis, uneven bars, volleyball, weightlifting, cross-country skiing, yachting, zucchini tossing. John Granado, Jeff Connor, and John Burton. They cover the sports from A to Z.
Zucchini tossing? Who writes this stuff? What is a zucchini? One of them green things.
Only on The Source.
Shelf and Dining Furniture's Mighty Oak sale is on now. You can save hundreds of dollars on all of our fine oak furniture, even custom orders. Save 40 to 50% on our complete solid oak dining collection from Northern Harvest. Choose from Wisconsin's best selection of Oak entertainment centers. Get Mighty Oak sale savings on china cabinets, home office furniture, bedroom sets, and more.
Dining furniture, wood furniture specialists.
Open a shelf and dining revolving charge. The sale is on now.
All right, here's another similar drama, and it is not a pleasant one. Patty Durham was suing her husband for divorce. Well, I don't know. Anyway, she had a divorce attorney. She was 40 at the time, had been married 7 years, and she was sexually assaulted by her lawyer, who, first of all, if I understand this, Patty, asked you to fill out a form. He didn't like the way you filled it out and told you to go really find out who you were and go behind a locked door, which you did, huh?
That's correct.
So you struggled harder to give him more information about yourself, right?
Right.
Was there any particular untoward commentary at all in your first meeting with him?
He made me uncomfortable being there. He always made me the last client of his day. So because of that, whenever I go to his office, I would bring someone with me.
We filled, several months into the case, we had a hearing. We filled out some papers, and we're taking an elevator to the hearing when what happened?
No, I'm not the one that was in the elevator.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Where were you at the time?
At the time, he asked me to go into a room with him. It's an attorney's room at the courthouse to sign some papers. He closed the door. There was a table, 2 chairs. We sat down, made out the paper, and as I attempted to leave, he grabbed a hold of me and knocked me up against a wall and started molesting me, kissing me. And
you ran out the room.
I ran out the room, ran down the hallway, ran into my to-be ex-husband.
You ran right into your ex-husband after having been at the hearing.
At the hearing.
You had to be in a real bad emotional state at this time.
Yes, I was, because we were going to see a judge within the next 2 or 3 minutes to
decide.
Did
your husband inquire about what happened?
Yes, he did, because I was crying, and he said he was going to go over and take care of the attorney. And I told him not to, because, I mean, that wasn't going to help me.
So a final act of courtesy from your soon-to-be ex-husband. Then, during a hearing, your attorney leaned over to you and said something about frustration. Is that? Yeah,
That's correct. Before we went into the hearing, the 2 attorneys had exchanged some paperwork. And at that time, he leaned over and said to me, I bet you're so frustrated right now, if I put you on top, you'd last forever.
You stormed out.
I left.
You said, if I have to deal with this guy, I'll do it by myself. And finally, I assume your divorce finally happened. And what happened then? 14 months later, I think.
I waited 1.5 years before I pursued the divorce again. And at that time, I felt that he could just do the paperwork with me because I was getting remarried. And I received a bill in the mail 10 months after my divorce was final. He was charging me for services he wouldn't do for me.
The bill was for $1,400.
Right. And I just went ahead and threw it away. And he went ahead and sued me.
And when he sued you, you got mad enough finally to say, I'm going to countersue him for sexual harassment or whatever the
That's correct.
legal language might be.
Yeah.
He is now being investigated by the state bar. Is that so?
That's correct.
California?
California.
And is still practicing law as we tape, huh?
Yes.
Your item appeared in a legal journal, I think, did it?
It appeared in a number of magazines and a few legal journals.
And the phone started ringing.
About 40 ladies have contacted me.
Wait till I tell you what happened to me with this same guy.
Oh.
Right?
Exactly.
One of whom was Patty McGlasson. Patty, let's say we have 2 Patties. Ms. Durham, your incident occurred in what year?
1985.
When did your incident occur, Ms. Glasson?
1968.
What happened?
Well, I was suing my husband for divorce, and I had this same gentleman for an attorney. And throughout the time that I was seeing him, He made many sexual innuendos, overtures to me, was telling me, you know, how much I was going to need somebody, and he wanted to be that somebody. And he continued with my case. And he did end up telling me, he says, one of these days I'm going to call you up and you're going to say yes. And he sort of primed me all the way along this, because I was in a very emotional state, a very vulnerable state. I had a very bad divorce and was feeling extremely down on myself, totally unattractive, no self-worth at all. One day he called and said, "Are you ready?" And I said yes. And I did, in fact, go to bed with him one night. He did continue with my case.
Right.
And that was solved.
Right. No picnic sharing this story in public. But
no, none at all.
You did it, what? You got the courage when you saw about Mrs. Durham, is that so?
Yes, this article that appeared in our local paper, where it says, client sues attorney, alleges advances, was the one that my husband, my present husband of 22 years, said, you need to contact this lady and tell her your story. If you can help in any way,
right,
then you need to do it.
Inland Valley is...
It's in Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, Upland in California. It's in that area.
In the general Ontario, California metropolitan area.
That's correct.
Lori Den Ouden was also harassed by the same attorney, is that right?
Yes.
He had you look at nude photos?
It was my first visit with him, and we were discussing the case. And I was very nervous because we were talking about custody, and I was very concerned about my children. And all of a sudden, while I'm sitting there crying, he said, "Lori, I think that you'll be interested in this." And he held up a book, and it was pictures of nude women.
And then he sat next to you in an inappropriate way, and not unlike people sit next to each other on an airplane. Is that so?
No. One time he grabbed my hand and he didn't let it go. Another time he was rubbing my back. I had brought my 5-year-old for protection, and I thought he wouldn't bother me with somebody else in the office. But while he was showing her his pipe, his hand was going up and down my back.
Jim Toledano is your attorney. You want to say, among other things, that attorneys aren't crazy about suing other attorneys. Did you have trouble finding an attorney to take on this attorney?
I sure did. We had an attorney, and he had the paperwork all ready to go, and his partners got together and said, you can't do this to a brother attorney. You cannot represent her, so we had to start all over again with a new attorney.
Mm-hmm. And when did your incident happen, Lori?
1987.
So that's 85, 87,
68.
And 68. And how many women have called to say, me too? About?
We're getting close to 30.
30?
So far.
Women. And he is now represented, and presumably a trial is pending.
We'll get a trial date next Monday. We will go to court and get assigned a trial date.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
From the shores of Green Bay to Lake Winnebago and the heartland of Northeast Wisconsin, your Valley area Buick dealers bring you the car famous for world-class quality. LeSabre, all new for $1992, with fresh new styling, more power, and 14 more standard features than before. The 1992 Buick LeSabre. One more way Buick is bringing world-class quality to America's heartland.
Take it from me, you can't beat Buick quality or the value you get from your Valley area Buick dealer.
I qualified for therapy all my life, and I never knew it. You see, I grew up in an alcoholic family, feeling responsible for all of the problems, feeling guilty because I couldn't make them better, taking care of everyone except me. If you grew up in an alcoholic family, call us now. Therapy can show you how to live your life, not everyone else's.
Call 1-800-362-HOPE for Holy Family Memorial's Chemical Dependency Program.
Help us help you.
Over the years, music has gone through lots of changes. If your stereo hasn't come to Best Buy this week for no payments or interest for 6 months on CD players, cassette decks, receivers, or complete systems, like this Technique system for just $888. No payments or interest for 6 months on any audio purchase of $250 or more. So if your music is new or old, it's bound to sound better on a new stereo system from Best Buy.
Okay, now we're gonna play Break the Bank.
Look
No, not that. The new scratch game from the Wisconsin Lottery, where there are 4 chances to win on every ticket.
So it's us 4 against you, eh?
Yep, if just one of your game cards beats the dealer's card, win up to $1,000 instantly. Okay? Got it? Now, cut.
New Break the Bank. It's on sale now.
Yes.
Oh, I'm addressing this to the girl in black with the
Yes.
green skirt. Why would you put your child in that position to take her back with you after he had made advances to you? Why didn't you just say, hey, I've had it, I'm not going to go back to him, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
actually,
Let her make her point, please.
actually, I didn't think he'd do anything while she was there.
Yes.
I'm concerned over the fact that they continued going back after one.
Let me get somebody who hasn't had a chance here. Yes.
There's a good answer to that. and that's
Please
true.
share it with us.
Can I speak
First
to
of all,
that?
you weren't made of money.
That's right. It took the last $2,000 that I had for his retainer. I was being sued for custody of my children, and I was very worried about that, even though just the perception of it was there. And he had us write these things where he said, his quote was that he would crawl into our head. And he exerted a great deal of control that way. He wanted to psychologically know every little detail about you.
Yes.
Was Joel well respected in the photography community?
Well, I could answer that for you. Anyone who is a convicted felon for sexual abuse 2 times over, it's hard to imagine how he's respected. We've gotten phone calls concerning Mr. Schoenfeld from many, many people who have been abused by this woman, and our investigation reveals that he was blacklisted on just about every modeling agency throughout the city.
You are here representing John Valverde. To those of you who joined us late, may I say, Mr. Valverde, at age 21, now faces a second-degree murder charge in the slaying of Joel Schoenfeld, a photographer who would, the evidence shows, bring young models up to his apartment and then abuse them sexually. He did that to John Valverde's girlfriend, and about 3 months after the incident, Mr. Valverde showed up at Mr. Schoenfeld's apartment and fired 1 bullet through his head. How will you plead him, attorney-at-law Michael Mazes?
Right now, he's pled not guilty. He has filed notice of intention to present psychiatric evidence in his defense, and it's important to understand that we're not talking about a vigilante type of defense. That's not accepted in law. What happened here is that the psychiatrists are going to have to look at John's state of mind at the time that the incident took place, and based on what they find, that will form the basis of his defense.
I think it's important to know that this isn't an isolated case, that it happens quite often. And I had gone one time and brought my husband along with me. I think that people should bring somebody with them on a shoot.
Yes, ma'am. You wanted to say.
In any of these cases, have any of the women that have called in and testified or complained, are they willing to come forward for any of these cases and make the cases much stronger?
For example, against the divorce lawyer in Ontario, California. You're going to have a crowd in the courtroom?
I anticipate we're going to have quite a few. What has happened is the publicity has empowered these women. Don't assume that somebody who comes back feels that it doesn't matter to her. She comes back because she feels she has no choice. She's put her money up. She's put her children.
In other words, why does a woman keep coming back when a guy is leering at her and,
exactly,
you know, talking dirty?
They have no choice. Now they've seen a woman has fought back, and they say, my God, I can fight back too.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Ready for the perfect vacuum cleaner? Here it is, the new Dirt Devil Power Pack. The convenience of a canister vacuum with a power nozzle that adjusts to any surface. Get power and convenience with Power Pack. It's new from Dirt Devil.
I soak my dentures and use mouthwash, but sometimes I use toothpaste and mouthwash, but sometimes
Wait, all you need is denture cream. In just 90 seconds, denture cream gets dentures nearly twice as clean. Plus, it has minty mouthwash ingredients to freshen dentures. All you need is denture cream.
Notice these prescription spectacle lenses. Indoors, they're a pleasing blush tint. Outdoors, they darken to screen out uncomfy glare and odious UV. Indoors, back to blush, and so on. They're called Transitions Comfort Lenses, and they're made of lightweight plastic, which permits the delightful pun, light makes them dark, plastic makes them light. New Transitions Comfort Lenses.
See your neighborhood eye care specialist, Dr. Lynn Carley in Green Bay.
When there's an important business meeting in your future, hold it at Wisconsin's business address, the Midway Motor Lodge in Green Bay. The Midway can accommodate any group from 5 to 500 for business meetings, conventions, Christmas parties, even weddings. They'll provide food and drink, audio-visual equipment, plus all the regular Midway services, including Peyton's Restaurant, comfortable rooms, and the spectacular Dome Recreation Area with its new exercise room. So for your next meeting or convention, call the Midway Motor Lodge next to Lambeau Field and the Expo Center, Green Bay.
Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, hang on one second. Cherie, kindly stand for us here. I want you. Cherie Bogle joins us in the audience. You were likewise assaulted or in some way abused by the same attorney at law?
Yes.
What happened?
At what point?
Well, what was the first? Just give us one of the worst.
He started off asking family that I had brought with me, because I didn't feel real safe, for me to come by myself. And after writing history about myself, which I complied with, thinking it would help, he, quote, escorted me to my car, and it gradually progressed from there that he put me in situations that he and I were alone. Also put me in a courtroom right prior to seeing the judge like Patty, and proceeded he wanted to do my brains, but not in those words.
What happened in the elevator?
He pinned me against the wall in an elevator when we were by ourselves and touched me inappropriately, and I was fearful.
So you're one of the more than a score of women who have...
Yes.
And you'll be happy to appear in court?
It'll be a pleasure to be of help.
Thank you. Thank you. You are Mr. and Mrs. Valverde.
Correct.
Yes.
Your son is in very serious trouble. He faces a second-degree murder charge. You are Costa Rican born. You come to the United States. Your son is born here in New York City, and I know you were looking for a much less complicated life. You probably want to say that you love your son, and...
Yes, we like to say many things about our son, all of them wonderful things, because John has been not only a wonderful son, he has been a wonderful student. He has been spiritually good also. He's an honor student, a tremendous soccer player, a friendly individual who everybody loves him.
Yeah. I thank you so much. I thank you for being here. Don't miss the point here. This is not illegal. But increasing numbers of attorneys at law may now choose to feature their clients on television to soften up the jury. How do we feel about that? And we'll be back in just a moment.
You
never seen a closeout deal like a Team BAME closeout deal.
Unbelievable deals on over 291s. Huge rebates matched with huge Team BAME discounts make unbelievable deals. Nissan Stanzas from $96.49, Mazda Proteges from $89.49, and Volkswagen Foxes from $69.49. And unbelievable terms. Short on down payment? Use your rebate as down payment and own a brand new 91 for as little as $109 a month. So call or stop by today.
So much news, so little time. What could we do? The choices were simple. Either speed things up or expand it. We chose option number 2. That's why Monday through Friday at 10, we're giving you 5 extra minutes of news. And don't despair, sports fans. Fridays are reserved for the 5th quarter, when we fill those extra minutes with scores and highlights from the area's high school sports. Why the change? Because we're the source. WLUK News 11.
In school, my sister Kathy had big dreams. She married Jim, a successful businessman and a nice guy. She had a great job and was a good mother. I started seeing bruises on her. She'd say it was no big deal. It was a big deal, and Jim wasn't such a nice guy. In 1989, he killed her. Each day, 4 women are murdered by their husbands or partners. If you're a victim of domestic abuse, call 1-800-333-SAFE.
Tonight on News 11 at 5.
I'm Dr. Alan Cherkasky. A lot of surgeons use microscopes in the operating room, sometimes for the eye, sometimes for the ear. But what about for the heart? I'll tell you more on House Call at 5.
And at 6.
I'm Marty Spatel. How do authorities deal with crimes involving racism? We'll find out tonight at 6. And in tonight's Senior Report, we'll go traveling with the elderly.
That's tonight at 5 and 6 on The Source, WLUK News 11.
I think it's never too late to begin anything. The truth of the matter is, you can hit the gym and do 30 minutes a day and get the old chassis in gear and stroke out there and still look good. One good thing about it is you don't have to lie about your age.
For total fitness, join Valley's Vic Tanny now and get 3 years free dues. Call 1-800-WORKOUT.
Well, as a consumer, you really don't expect tissues to be strong. They're supposed to be soft.
Well,
Should blacks put protest and anger behind them, or should they continue to protest against racism? You decide. Next, Donahue.
You there, caller? I didn't get you on. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question for John. Do you have any regrets about the crime you committed?
Do you regret you did this, John?
I have to interrupt it again. There hasn't been any determination that a crime has been committed. That's something for a jury to determine.
This heroic picture that we're painting of John is ridiculous, and the audience just accepts murder. Whether you murder a nun or a rapist, it's murder. You're a killer.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the father.
Scrabble, America's good time game. Yeah, it's Scrabble, America's good time
From Milton
game.
Bradley.
Super Strength Polident. Polident soaks away tough stains, and its minty mouthwash ingredient leaves your dentures minty fresh clean.
For the perfect weekend and the perfect frequent stay program, check into the new Drake, the only Swiss hotel on Park Avenue.